Ariella slammed the door of her childhood home, the echo reverberating through the polished halls of the upscale Boston suburb like a gunshot in the night. Her mother's words still burned in her ears. "You're nothing but the gay daughter who can't belong here anymore." But as Ariella clutched the crumpled letter from her late father's attorney, she knew the real shock was yet to come. The will that would silence all the venom and force everyone to confront the truths they'd buried for years. She drove aimlessly through the rain-slicked streets, her mind a whirlwind of betrayal and confusion. How could her father, the stoic patriarch who'd built a real estate empire from nothing, have hidden such a clause? Ariella's hands trembled on the steering wheel as she replayed the attorney's call. "Your inheritance is conditional on you living your truth openly." Living her truth meaning her love for Ariella, the woman her family had dismissed as a phase or worse, a rebellion against their conservative values. The irony twisted like a knife. Her father, who had barely spoken to her after she came out at 22, now posthumously demanded authenticity from beyond the grave. Ariella pulled into the parking lot of their small apartment in Cambridge, the wipers swishing rhythmically against the downpour. Ariella would be waiting, probably with that knowing smile, ready to wrap her in arms that felt like the only safe harbor in a storm of judgment. But how could she explain this? The will didn't just offer money. It dangled control over the family business, shares that could either secure their future or ignite a war with her mother and siblings. Deep down, Ariella wondered if claiming it would mean trading her soul for security, or if refusing it would prove her mother's accusations right, that she was too weak to fight for what she deserved. Inside, the apartment smelled of fresh coffee and Aria's lavender shampoo, a stark contrast to the sterile opulence of her family's estate. Ariella looked up from her laptop, her dark eyes narrowing with concern. "Ella, what happened? You look like you've seen a ghost." Ariella collapsed onto the couch, the letter slipping from her fingers. As she recounted the confrontation, her mother's icy glare, the hurled insults about disgracing the family name, Aria's face hardened. "She can't keep doing this to you," Ariella said, her voice steady but laced with anger. "We've built our life without them. Why let her poison seep back in?" But Ariella's thoughts raced ahead, tangled in the web of what-ifs. The will stipulated that to inherit, she had to publicly acknowledge her relationship in a family gathering, essentially outing herself in a way that would shatter the facade her mother had meticulously maintained. It was a double-edged sword. Empowerment wrapped in potential destruction. What if her siblings, already resentful of her lifestyle, used this to cut her out entirely? Or worse, what if Ariella, who had her own scars from a rejecting family, saw this as Ariella prioritizing money over their quiet happiness? As the night wore on, Ariella lay awake, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin. Her inner monologue was a torrent. Why did Dad do this? Was it guilt for all the years he looked away when Mom berated me? Or a final test to see if I'd crumble? She thought back to her coming-out dinner. The way her father's silence had hurt more than her mother's outburst. Now this will felt like his unspoken apology, but at what cost? Ariella stirred beside her, murmuring in sleep, and Ariella felt a pang of guilt. Their love had been her anchor, but this inheritance could drag them both under if she wasn't careful. The next morning over breakfast, Ariella pushed the issue. "We don't need their money, Ella. We've got our jobs, you with your graphic design firm, me teaching at the community college. We're free here." But Ariella's mind fixated on the possibilities. Paying off student loans, buying a home without scraping by, maybe even starting the family they'd whispered about in stolen moments. "It's not just money," she confessed. "It's about proving I'm not the failure they think I am." Aria's expression softened, but doubt flickered in her eyes. "And if it means facing them all? Risking more rejection?" Ariella decided to meet the attorney alone, driving to the sleek downtown office where polished executives hurried by. Mr. Hargrove, a silver-haired man with kind eyes, laid out the details. 50% of the company shares to Ariella, but only if she hosted a family event announcing her commitment to Ariella. "Your father believed in redemption," he said. "He regretted not supporting you sooner." Ariella's chest tightened. Redemption for him or punishment for us? She signed the preliminary papers, her hand steady despite the inner quake. Walking out, she felt empowered yet terrified. This choice could redefine her or break her. Back home, she told Ariella everything. watching her partner's face cycle through shock, anger, and resignation. So, we're props in your family's drama now? Araya snapped, her voice cracking. It was their first real fight in months, words flying like shards of glass. Ariella defended her decision. This is for us, for our future. But Araya countered. Or is it for you to finally win their approval? I've been there, Ella, chasing validation from people who'll never give it. The argument left them raw, sleeping back to back for the first time in years. Days blurred into planning the dreaded gathering. Ariella's mother called relentlessly, her tone dripping with suspicion. What's this about? Another one of your stunts? Ariella hung up each time, but the words festered. Internally, she battled. Am I betraying Araya by dragging her into this? Or am I fighting for the life we deserve? Society's whispers echoed too, the judgmental stares at family events, the concerned friends questioning their choice. It all fueled her resolve, yet deepened her doubts. Araya, meanwhile, wrestled with her own demons. Growing up in a strict immigrant household, she'd been disowned at 18 for loving women. Meeting Ariella 5 years ago at a pride event had been salvation. But now this will threaten to reopen old wounds. If I stand by her, am I strong or just enabling her family's toxicity? She confided in a friend over coffee, the words tumbling out. I love her, but this feels like a trap. The friend advised caution, but Araya knew walking away wasn't an option. Not yet. As the event approached, tensions mounted. Ariella's brother Mark texted warnings. Mom's furious. This could split us forever. Ariella ignored him, focusing on the speech she'd rehearse in the mirror. Declaring her love, claiming her place. But nightmares plagued her, visions of rejection, of Araya leaving. The moral quandary gnawed. Was inheritance worth the emotional carnage? Or was backing down admitting defeat to prejudice? Finally, the day arrived. The family estate buzzed with reluctant guests, siblings, aunts, uncles, all eyeing Ariella warily. Araya stood beside her, hand clasped tightly, a silent show of solidarity amid the storm. As Ariella stepped to the podium, heart pounding, she locked eyes with her mother, whose face was a mask of barely contained rage. Today, Ariella began, voice steady. I honor Dad's wish by living openly, with the woman I love. The room erupted in murmurs, but Ariella pressed on, detailing their journey, the love that had sustained them against odds. Her mother interrupted. This is absurd. You're destroying our legacy. The confrontation escalated, voices rising in a cacophony of accusations. Araya squeezed her hand, whispering, We're in this together. But as allies and adversaries clashed, Ariella realized the true cost. Not just family rifts, but the internal scars that might never heal. In the aftermath, as guests departed in hushed tones, Ariella's mother approached, tears in her eyes. I never wanted this for you. For a moment, vulnerability cracked the facade, but then she turned away, leaving Ariella hollow. Had she won or merely survived? The inheritance was hers, but the victory tasted bitter. Ariella stared at the signed documents on the kitchen table, the ink still fresh like an open wound. The family gathering had been a battlefield, words weaponized in ways she'd never imagined. Her mother's parting shot, You'll regret this, echoed in her mind, a prophecy she feared might come true. But the shares were transferred, the empire partially hers, and with it came the power she'd craved. Yet, as Araya packed a bag for a short break at her sister's, Ariella wondered if the price was their relationship. The days following were a blur of board meetings and legal jargon. Ariella dove into the company, her father's legacy now her responsibility. Colleagues whispered about the controversial heir, their stares a reminder of society's lingering biases. Internally, she rationalized, this is for stability, for proving I belong. But doubt crept in. Had she sacrificed authenticity for ambition? Araya's absence amplified the loneliness, her texts sparse and cool. Need space to think. Araya, crashing on her sister's couch in New York, grappled with resentment. The event had forced her into the spotlight, reliving her own family's rejection. Why did I agree? To support her, or because I feared losing her? Memories flooded. The pride parade where they met, Ariella's shy smile cutting through the crowd. Their love had been pure, untainted by external pressures. Now it felt commodified, a tool in Ariella's quest for validation. She confided in her sister. I feel like I'm just a statement to her family. Back in Boston, Ariella's sister Lena called unexpectedly. Mom's not handling this well. She's talking about contesting the will. Lena's voice held a mix of sympathy and accusation. Ariella bristled. She started this war. But Lena pressed. We all have choices. Yours hurt everyone. The conversation unearthed old sibling rivalries. Lena's jealousy over Ariella's special treatment in the will. Mark's anger at diluted shares. Ariella hung up, tears streaming. Am I the villain here? For daring to claim what's mine? Work became her refuge, but even there, ethical dilemmas arose. A major deal involved partnering with a firm known for anti-LGBT policies. Ariella's board pushed for it, citing profits. Internally, she agonized. Approve it and betray my values, or veto and risk alienating allies. She chose veto, citing core principles. But the backlash was swift, emails accusing her of personal agendas over business sense. The isolation deepened. Was this the belonging she'd fought for? Araya returned after a week, the reunion tentative. I missed you, she admitted, but tension lingered. Over dinner, they dissected the event. Araya's humiliation at being paraded. Ariella's defense that it was necessary. Necessary for what? Araya challenged. Money? Or proving a point? Ariella confessed her fears. Without this, I'm nothing to them. Araya softened. You're everything to me. Isn't that enough? The night ended in uneasy truce, but cracks remained. Society's pressures mounted. At a networking event, Ariella overheard slurs. The lesbian taking over. Wonder how she got the shares. She confronted the speaker, voice sharp. Through hard work and a father's regret. The exchange went viral on social media, sparking debates on inheritance and identity. Supporters praised her courage. Detractors called it entitlement. Ariella scrolled through comments late at night, her self-doubt swelling. Am I inspiring change or just fueling division? Araya faced her own battles at work. Colleagues, aware of the drama, offered support laced with pity. One asked, how do you handle being the other woman in all this? Araya snapped back. I'm her partner, not a side note. But inwardly she questioned her role. Am I strong enough to weather this, or will it break us? She suggested therapy, but Ariella resisted. We can handle it ourselves. A turning point came when Ariella's mother invited her to lunch, neutral ground at a quiet cafe. The meeting was fraught. Her mother, looking frail, admitted. Your father pushed for that clause. He thought it would fix things. Ariella's anger flared. Fix what? The damage you caused. Tears flowed as old grievances aired, childhood expectations, suppressed emotions. Her mother confessed regret but defended her beliefs. Society isn't ready. Ariella left conflicted. Forgive and heal or cut ties for good. The encounter stirred Ariella's conscience. She proposed to Araya a compromise. Use the inheritance for good, like funding LGBT charities. Araya warmed to the idea. That could redeem this mess. But as they planned, Mark ambushed with a lawsuit threat, claiming undue influence in the will. The family fracture widened, forcing Ariella to choose. Fight legally, or negotiate peace at personal cost. Amid the chaos, Araya discovered a secret. Ariella had hidden emails from exes, not romantic, but reminders of past struggles. Why keep this? Araya demanded. Ariella explained. To remember why I fight. But trust eroded. Was this transparency or more deception? Their argument peaked. You're changing, Araya accused. Into what they want. Ariella retorted. Or into who I need to be. As legal battles loomed, Ariella reflected on the moral maze. Inheritance as justice or greed. Love as strength or vulnerability. The high-stakes decisions weighed heavy, each one a potential betrayal. Society's gaze amplified every move, turning personal pain into public spectacle. The courtroom loomed like a coliseum, where family bonds would be tried and possibly executed. Ariella sat rigid in her suit, flanked by lawyers as Mark presented his case. The will was manipulated, her father's mental state questionable. Her mother's testimony stung most. He was heartbroken over her choices. Ariella's inner voice screamed, choices? Like loving who I love? But she remained composed, her testimony a raw recounting of paternal regrets and final wishes. Araya watched from the gallery, her support unwavering yet strained. The trial unearthed skeletons. Old emails showing her father's private support for LGBT causes, contradicting the family's public stance. Revelations shocked. Ariella learned he donated anonymously to pride organizations. Why hide it? Fear of mom's wrath? The irony fueled her determination, but the emotional toll mounted. Nights were sleepless, plagued by what's win and lose my family, or lose and affirm their bigotry. Society's microscope intensified. Media dubbed it the lesbian legacy battle. Articles dissecting her life. Protests outside the court. Supporters with rainbow flags. Opponents chanting slurs. Ariella addressed the press briefly. This is about truth, not trends. But inwardly she crumbled. Am I a hero or a hypocrite? Using pain for publicity? Araya bore the brunt at home. Anonymous threats arrived. Hate mail decrying their unnatural union. We should move, she urged. Ariella refused. Running admits defeat. Their debates turned heated. Araya accusing stubbornness, Ariella countering with resilience. Deep down, Araya feared. Is our love collateral in her war? She sought solace in journaling, pouring out fears of abandonment. A pivotal witness. Lena torn between loyalties. She testified neutrally but later confided to Ariella. I envy your courage. I hid my own doubts for years. The admission hinted at deeper family secrets. Lena's unspoken attractions? Ariella pondered. Are we all victims of suppression? It humanized her siblings, complicating her anger. Mid-trial, a betrayal surfaced. Mark had leaked private texts to tabloids, twisting Ariella's words into entitlement. Fury boiled. How could you? She confronted him post-session. Mark sneered. You started this by being you. The exchange severed ties but guilt nagged Ariella. Did my actions push him to this? Araya's patience frayed. This is consuming you, she said one evening. Us. Ariella admitted. I feel lost without fighting. Therapy finally agreed upon, sessions revealed layers. Ariella's approval-seeking rooted in childhood neglect. Araya's trust issues from disownment. Progress was slow, but insights fostered empathy. Maybe healing starts within, Ariella thought. The verdict neared, tensions peaking. Her mother approached in the hall. End this. For all of us. Ariella refused. Not until you accept me. The standoff epitomized the moral conflict. Forgiveness versus justice. Society's expectations loomed, conform or rebel. In a twist, evidence emerged. A video will from her father, confessing regrets and endorsing Ariella's life. Be proud, he urged. The court ruled in her favor, shares secured. Victory cheers from supporters, but Ariella felt empty. Won the battle, lost the war? Family scattered, communication ceased. Post-trial, Ariella and Araya retreated to a cabin upstate, seeking reprieve. Conversations delved deep. Regrets, dreams. Araya shared. I almost left. Ariella whispered. I'm glad you didn't. Intimacy rebuilt, but scars lingered. Back home, they channeled funds into advocacy, turning pain into purpose. Yet, shadows persisted. Anonymous calls harassed, echoing societal disdain. Ariella questioned. Is change possible or perpetual fight? Araya's encouragement steadied her. We're proof it is. A new conflict arose. A company scandal involving discriminatory practices under her watch. Ariella investigated, firing culprits, but backlash ensued. Accusations of overreach. Internally, she debated. Lead with heart or head? Choosing heart, she implemented inclusivity policies, risking profits. Araya faced professional repercussions. Her college scrutinized her public profile. Stand down, advisors suggested. She refused. This is who I am. Solidarity strengthened their bond, but exhaustion set in. How much more can we endure? As months passed, reconciliation hints emerged. Lena reached out, apologizing. I was wrong. Tentative meetings followed, bridging gaps. But her mother remained distant, a symbol of unyielding prejudice. Ariella reflected on the journey. Choices fraught with consequences, each a test of integrity. The drama had forged her, but at what cost to those she loved? With the company stabilized, Ariella turned inward, questioning the path ahead. The inheritance, once a beacon, now felt like chains, binding her to expectations she'd never wanted. Board meetings droned on, decisions weighing heavy. Expand into conservative markets or prioritize ethical alignments. Compromise for growth or stay true and stagnate. Her choices sparked internal rebellions, colleagues muttering about agenda-driven leadership. Araya noticed the shift. "You're distant," she observed over wine. Ariella confessed. "This power, it's corrupting me." Vulnerability sparked reconnection, but underlying fears simmered. Araya's own career faltered. Scrutiny led to denied promotions. "Because of us," she lamented. Ariella offered support. "We'll fight it." But Araya wondered, am I paying for her inheritance? Society's backlash evolved. Online forums debated her privilege, ignoring struggles. A documentary request came, exposed the family saga. Ariella declined, not for spectacle, but temptation lingered. Share to educate or protect privacy. Araya advised caution. "We've been exposed enough." A surprise, her mother's health scare, a minor stroke. Hospital visits forced confrontations. "I never understood," her mother whispered. Ariella's response mixed anger and pity. "You chose not to." The vulnerability cracked defenses. Stories exchanged, her mother's rigid upbringing, fears of societal ostracism, empathy or excuse. Ariella left torn, pondering forgiveness's boundaries. Mark's olive branch followed. A private meeting. "I was scared of change," he admitted. Reconciliation tentative but progress. Lena joined, forming a fragile alliance. Family therapy suggested but resistance high. Ariella pushed. "For Dad's sake." Sessions unearthed resentments, her favoritism, their conformity. Breakthroughs came slowly, tears flowing. Amid healing, betrayal struck. A trusted advisor embezzled, blaming Ariella's distractions. Scandal erupted, stocks plummeting. Ariella's leadership questioned. Step down to save the company or fight and risk ruin. She chose fight, exposing the fraud but damage done. Internally, guilt consumed. "My focus on personal battles caused this?" Araya stood firm. "You're not alone." Their partnership deepened, shared burdens lightening loads. Yet Araya harbored secrets. A job offer in California, escape from scrutiny. "Should I take it?" she confided. Ariella's heart sank. "Without me." Debate ensued. Relocate together or stay rooted? Moral dilemma. Sacrifice career for love or pursue individual growth? Society's tide shifted slightly. Positive media highlighted her reforms, inspiring others. Letters arrived. Young lesbians thanking her visibility. Impact worth the pain? Ariella believed so, but exhaustion mounted. A climactic family dinner. All gathered, tensions palpable. Ariella announced philanthropy plans, donating shares to LGBT causes. Gasps followed. Her mother protested. "That's our legacy." Ariella countered. "No, it's mine to redefine." Arguments flared. Alliances shifted. Mark supported, Lena wavered. Her mother stormed out, but seeds planted. Post-dinner, Araya revealed the offer. "Let's go," Ariella decided impulsively. Start fresh. But doubt crept. Running from problems or towards freedom. Packing ensued, emotions raw. As they drove west, reflections dominated. Ariella pondered choices. The will's catalyst, battles fought. Right or wrong, they've shaped us. Araya echoed. We've grown stronger. Arrival in San Francisco brought hope, new jobs, accepting community. But past shadows lingered. News of family fallout reached them. Her mother's isolation, siblings' struggles. Guilt nagged. Abandon them or reach back? Ariella initiated contact. We can rebuild. Responses varied. Lena eager, Mark cautious, mother silent. The moral quandary persisted. Extend grace or protect peace? Through it all, their love endured, tested but resilient. Ariella realized, true belonging wasn't in empires, but connections forged through fire. Settling into their new life, Ariella and Araya navigated the unfamiliar rhythms of the West Coast. The tech-savvy vibe of San Francisco offered anonymity, a respite from Boston's judgmental eyes. Ariella launched a consultancy, advising on inclusive business practices, while Araya thrived in a progressive college role. Mornings were coffee-fueled discussions, evenings walks along the bay, rebuilding intimacy lost in turmoil. Yet, echoes of the past intruded. A call from Lena. Mom's worsening. She asks about you. Ariella's resolve wavered. Return and risk regression or stay detached. Araya urged compassion. Closure might heal you both. The decision loomed, a final test of growth. Society's evolution provided context. Marriage equality solidified, but pockets of prejudice remained. Ariella's story inspired podcasts, her voice amplifying others. Internally, she questioned. Advocate publicly, exposing vulnerabilities, or live quietly. She chose balance, selective sharing. A reunion planned. Family visit to California. Tensions anticipated. Preparations meticulous. Upon arrival, awkward hugs, stilted talks. Her mother, frail but defiant, admitted, I was wrong. Fear ruled me. Tears bridged years of hurt. Mark confessed regrets. Lena shared her own coming-out journey. Revelations mended fractures. Forgiveness tentative but real. But not without cost. During a heated discussion, old wounds reopened. Accusations of selfishness. Ariella stood firm. I fought for my truth. Resolution came through honesty, family emerging closer if scarred. Araya watched, proud yet reflective. We've paid dearly but gained wisdom. Their bond, forged in adversity, felt unbreakable. As life normalized, Ariella pondered the saga's lessons. Choices ripple effects, prejudices toll. The inheritance, partially donated, funded scholarships, turning pain into progress. In quiet moments, doubts surfaced. Was it all worth it? But affirmations outweighed. Love's triumph, personal evolution. The story culminates in reflection. Amidst gains and losses, the human cost of authenticity in a divided world. Was Ariella right to claim the inheritance, knowing the familial and emotional devastation it would unleash?